My name is Kurt Freskowski. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee. We're called to order of the Finance Committee on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. And this is a in-person meeting only. So all are welcome, and we have a call to order.
You just call it to order.
Okay, all right. The first thing, we do have an amendment to the first item on the agenda. We are reviewing and approving the January 31st meeting minutes. Do I have any?
A motion to approve the January 31st minutes as written.
I second.
Okay, and have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move right on. I will mention where there is another meeting after ours, so we're keeping strictly to the hour, not shorter this evening. And so we'll move right to the police department presentation with Chief Gill and Deputy Chief Bigelow.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We got a pretty busy presentation for you, so put on your seatbelts. We're going to try and drive through this thing pretty as quick as we can to try and keep clearly under the hour and leave time for questions from the board. One of the things that we want to do is just kind of outline how this presentation goes. We're going to kind of give some insight and background into the Ayer Police Department. And then we're going to move into some of the budgeting and how our budget is broken down, and kind of highlight how we came to this budget for this year. Okay, so this is our current organizational design. It's pretty busy up there, but I can break it down kind of from a 10,000 foot view right now. So we have 20 officers, when we're up to full staff, I should say. We have 20 officers, we have 10 communication staff, 2 admin staff, 1 animal control, and 1 detainee watch. And all of those are highlighted up there. What I want to do is talk about these 4 positions that are in our organizational design right now. So currently, our detective bureau is vacant. We've had a lot of moving parts for several years now, promotions, resignations, retirements. So one of our primary objectives is to keep patrol staff out on the road. So as these moving parts were happening, we drew from the detective bureau to keep the patrol levels up as much as possible. You see I got the swing sergeant highlighted up there. What the swing sergeant is, it fills in on the days off for the other sergeants. Right now we have our 4th sergeant, the swing sergeant. It's on a long-term injury, so that's currently vacant. You see I have a patrol officer there under the 11 to 7 shift. The patrol officer is there, but what's happening this year during this, what we call a shift bid cycle, is we have a retirement happening mid-cycle. So normally we keep that shift with 3 officers and 1 sergeant. With the retirement happening mid-cycle, we have the ability to keep the 4th one up there. So when the retirement does happen, and it's expected to happen, we'll be down to a normal level there. And lastly is the reserve officers that you see up there. So currently we have 0 reserve officers. Right before the pandemic, we put the program on hold because the police reform legislation in Massachusetts was reviewing the credentials of reserve officers, which prior to that they had to attend a reserve police officer academy. Coming out of that legislation, reserve officers had to have a full-time credentialing, so they had to go and have a full-time police officer training. We intend, though, to bring that reserve program back in some form or fashion in April or May, with the intent to use a retired officer or officers that want to stay on and maintain their full-time credentialing.
Is there outside funding available for that, for reserve officers?
No, that's
Okay.
from us.
Let me do some of this.
Sure. I think I stepped on your.
That's quite all right, yeah. So, do you mind hitting the, you're closer to the button. So you can see here, looking at our activity statistics. To the left is 2017 in each dot that you see there brings us up to 2022. This is our arrests, starting 2017 to 109, dropping down in 2020 to 87, and now the 2022 our arrest numbers rose to 151. And you can see the increase on that line, that tilt, as we increasingly the calls for service and the needs for arrest continue to increase. And it's trending up. Obviously we had the pandemic, but it's trending up. As we continue on with our statistics, again, starting in 2017 and rising up to 2022, the incident numbers starting over on the left, 2017, 681, and now 2022 of last year to 779. So yeah, they went down, and now they've continued to stable out and just to about an increase of 100 compared to 2017. Criminal applications to court, and for those, pardon?
What is that?
Just in case someone didn't. So a criminal application means, so let's say you did something and we don't have to necessarily arrest you. We could summons you to court and you would still face the charges, but not, handcuffs and booking. We would just say, okay, we're gonna summons you to court for a later date. And so those, that's, sometimes it's, discretion, sometimes depending on what the situation is, then we might use criminal application as opposed to an arrest. 2017, 101, ups and downs, clearly reflecting the pandemic, and now last year at 142. Again, increasing. And it doesn't yes?
Quick question. So what court does the police, our Ayer, work under?
Middlesex District Court is right here. Ayer District Court is what we use just down the street.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Ayer District is part of the Middlesex.
Correct, under Middlesex
Gotcha.
County, yep. So again, with statistics, to the left is motor vehicle stops. And as I, hear some noise, you can see 2018 was 1,811, dipped down. Obviously there was not as many people on the road, clearly, through the pandemic, but went down and then clearly spiked right back up as we continue to move forward. As everybody in the community has, to 2,868. Motor vehicle collisions, 2017, over to the left is 120, dips down and then increases to level out and +1 to 2022. There clearly we can look at that and see, some of the things that we've done in the last couple of years and how things have changed, whether or not there's a correlation, with motor vehicle stops as well as then motor vehicle collisions.
I have a question.
Please.
What's driving the motor vehicle stops? Just more people breaking the law and you having to catch them, or is there specific enforcement you're looking to do?
All of the above.
Okay.
So there's nothing in specifically that would indicate we would, probably spend another hour and another night breaking down all our motor vehicle stops. Obviously moving violations, run the gamut. It's a large book to go through. Whatever we may see that's obvious compared to, clearly safety being the forefront of our stops.
One of the factors in the motor vehicle stops is also we've been quite successful. Our office manager, grant writer, in obtaining grants from EOPS to sustain specific and targeted motor vehicle enforcement, such as hands-free law, when that came out, they actually funded patrols to go out and kind of educate the public and stop them and help them understand that this is a new law. As well as aggressive driving is one we just finished. So we write these grants and we're showing the activity that they're saying, we're going to keep doing this. So we're hopefully going to continue that access and obtaining grants to help fund those programs.
So that grants funding.
Yep.
So, continuing on as we looked a little bit behind us to 2017 to now and how things are increasing. That's one picture to look at. But we're looking at, as it says, the current state of policing and how it's changed. The chief had mentioned the criminal justice reform bill that was in the Commonwealth, as well as post-certification. There's a lot of changes that occurred in the last couple of years with policing, and more specifically in Massachusetts. Clearly, technically, our cases are handled quickly when possible, but yet it's they can take longer, and more technicality, more time spent out in the field, more resources being used, more time to document the incident, and really leading to our department, just like others, a much more professional business. That we're here to keep things safe and be thorough with our investigations. But also with that, we have our accreditation status, which we were able to obtain with a lot of hard work that obviously needs to be maintained. There's a lot of administrative work that goes into that, which includes training, funding for the training that goes along with that, to be able to maintain that and continue to be progressive. Along with some of the changes in the last couple of years, there are some societal changes that have occurred, and what's expected of the police department, how we handle calls, what we have for resources, what we can do. It's not a quick call. We want to be able to be a resource and really be able to help those that are in our community, working with DCF and whether or not how available they are, being Department of Children's and Families, and advocates, as well as referring them through our COIN initiative for counseling for mental health and substance abuse. So there's a lot of documentation that goes into that. And along with the mental health system, there's a lot of people that are in need right now, but the system really isn't taking care of them as much as we would hope. So we're a lot of time responding to some of the calls over and over again, and consistently keeping that documentation going, so that way, not just like if someone goes to the doctor and they need documentation to support that, we want to be able to support that cause too, so people get the help they need. We have a lot of interactions in the field, but also we are the host town for Neshoba Valley Medical Center. And in that, when someone's in a mental health crisis and they go for what we refer to as a Section 12, where their mental health is significantly dangerous to themselves and others, we're assisting with the calls that those that are they need help up at the hospital when things are not working out so well. So just, you look at this, like mental health, domestic violence, accounts for over 26% of our no crime calls for service. So out of all those calls that you looked at, 26% regards mental health and domestic violence. We also look at the changes. Yes.
Just a quick observation. So then the host town, the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, sort of, I don't know if the best word, ties in or works with the EMT groups.
Correct. So we have all the surrounding towns that would be responding for for a mental health response, and bringing them for an evaluation,
Right.
to
So
the
you're gonna
Neshoba.
have to- yeah.
And so what happens, they drop off, they get admitted into the ER, but things don't work out so well for them. We're the ones responding to that call.
Right.
Our jurisdiction is left and returned back to their town. So we do respond to a lot of calls to assist the staff there. So with that too, our population, right? You all know here at this table, our population increased. The census has increased about 1,000, and expected to continue. We driving around, you see all the homes being built, which is great. The population continues to grow. Our commuter traffic, best case scenario, we look at 2018 for our previous commuter traffic as we look at to kind of balance out to where we're at now. And our last evaluation, Park Street, which is just north of Groton Street on Park Street, over 15,000 vehicles a day. Main Street east of Park Street, just 20,000 vehicles a day. Air continues to grow, our surrounding area continues to grow, you need to come through Air, to go to these places such as Devon's, or to get to 2 or 495 and you're cutting through here. So though our population may say one thing, our commuter traffic is quite high.
Quick observation on the accreditation status. So maintaining that accreditation, accredited police department, impacts how we get various funding from the state, I assume. In other words, since we are an accredited police department, we're able to write grants and
It's absolutely something that we include in all our grant narratives, that,
Right.
That we're an accredited department, and that certain things that are required of us.
right, and but that enables us, having that accredited, to interact more easily with various groups in Massachusetts, get funding from various groups. as needed.
Absolutely, and it's a status that is looked at professionally, and it's so much so that the insurance companies for the town have recognized that police departments that have achieved this status get they're recognized in insurance policies.
So insurance, again, because again, Air Police Department does not operate in a vacuum. It operates in Middlesex and within the state. You interact with Massachusetts state troopers.
We interact with many different groups, Massachusetts State Police, including federally.
So what I'm just trying is this accredited police department is just not a nice logo we put up there, but it drives a lot.
It drives a lot. It brings us to a national level of service that we provide to the town of Ayer, and it took us about 3 years to get to that level, and it's something that's we're very proud of. A lot of hard work that went into that by a lot of people, and it's in order to maintain that. That we have to, not only do we have to do all the things that are required, making sure that we're doing it, but we also have to make sure that we're documenting, we can prove that we're doing it.
Right. So that's going to drive documentation, staffing, various things.
Correct.
To keep
Which
that
is
accreditation.
Yeah, which is one of the, and we'll talk about it in a
Yeah,
few
okay.
slides future on the.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far. Just quick.
Yeah, no, but great question. Thank you.
Do you have to be recredited every few years?
Every 3 years we have to
Every
go
3
through
years.
accredited. Yeah.
So when is your next time?
So we just got accredited last year. So we're coming up in 2025. They are going to be doing spot checks, so we got to make sure that it's not just like on the 3rd year we start cramming it, making sure everything's done. So, okay, so staffing, how's it determined? So we mentioned earlier on that we have 20 officers. Now, when we talk about the 20 officers, that's myself down. So how do we get there? So the answer is, it depends. There is no cookie cutter answer to this question. It's very unique to the area. It's very unique to the circumstances that are in whatever community you're talking about. So talking about uniqueness, Ayer, very unique community. We're an urban-esque community. We're 9.6 square miles. Which we cram a whole lot of stuff into this 9.6 square miles. We talked about 8,500 population, but we also share that with a great deal of commercial and industrial properties. We have the large downtown district, the Carlton Circle and Rotary District, the Fitchburg Road and Westford Road, Willow Road and West Main Street industrial districts. So that's those are huge parcels of land. So really, when we're talking about the ways to determine it, just applying one simple method just doesn't cut it, and it doesn't cut it in a lot of communities, not just Ayer. So you really got to look at things with a couple different variables in mind. More about the uniqueness of Ayer. So we host as we all know here at this table, we host the MBTA train station, and we also have a very, very busy commercial rail line that they come from different angles of the town, different angles of the country. And this area is actually called the Golden Triangle. So a lot of what happens in the country as the train starts moving around comes through Ayer. So it's especially this part of the country. As we previously mentioned, we're the host of the area hospital and the ER. We've become great partners with the ER. If they have an incident up there where they have an unruly patient from either from our town or from another town, we're up there and assisting. We talked about the mental health crisis in the country. That's exasperated our responses up there. And that's kind of similar for any area that hosts a emergency room. We also host the district courthouse. So it's more or less self-sufficient. They have their own teams in there, but there are times when they call upon us to assist with a myriad of different things over there. We go over for any medical calls that come over there, and if whatever they are, we go and assist to make sure that the transfer of whoever is coming out, especially if it's a prisoner, we make sure that their security staff is taken care of over there. And if there's any special events over there, that we try to help out with security and presence and all that. And I think one of the things that's very important to us is we're a neighbor to Fort Devens, and with that we have two of the main entrances, of the three main entrances that lead in there. So we have Barnum Road, and we have the Verbeck Gate over on West Main Street. So that's brings a lot of traffic to and from in there. And we're also great partners with them. The state police are the municipal police department over there, but there's also still the military presence over there, and we are partners with them in providing security to that portions over there. So if there's any issues, we're ready to assist there. So with that, staffing per capita, we hear a lot about this, and like what does it actually mean? So what the numbers that we have up here, the first two, these are taken from the FBI Uniform Crime Report data. It's called the Crime Data Explorer. And these are from 2021. So what we show here is that the Massachusetts ratio for police officers to population per 1,000 is 2.6, and that calculates to 22.1 officers. The national ratio for population per 1,000 is 2.4, which is 21.25, and the Ayer ratio is 2.35, using the 20 officers at I believe 8,500. But we don't recommend that this be used as as the model, because it doesn't really talk about the whole picture of what does this mean. So a per capita is just really good as a reference. So we're just kind of showing where we are to averages, really. So staffing is based on many different variables. That should be when it's your turn.
Okay.
Okay, so currently we use two methods, and we loosely use these two methods. So back in 1989, the chief then directed the department to have what's called a 2-officer minimum. So at any given time, there'll always be 2 officers working the roads. So in 1989, we had 6,800 population. So that was the directive then. It is technically, it's still a directive now. We've adjusted in 2017, taking notice of the increased traffic in town, and we brought in the town agreed to fund 2 more police officers, and they were placed in areas where they could be do the most good with the increasing traffic in town. But importantly, we still have that 2-officer minimum. So even though we have 2 extra officers, one on a shift, we will still go down to 2 if there's a day off request or whatever. So it's if people don't take the day off, then we have extra people we can do enhance traffic. But if people take time off, that's, we'll drop down to the 2 still. Let's see. So on the right, though, there's a more a better model to use. It's called the workforce staffing model, and this is research out of Michigan State University that the Department of Justice has published for law enforcement leaders to kind of to use, or to at least think about. So it talks about using your minimum staffing to bring to decide what your minimum staffing is. So on the workload, so we talked about that we have increased traffic in certain times of the day. So they're saying that that's when you should be using, should be directing your minimum staffing, not necessarily a blanket approach that we did in 1989. So if, say, we know that we're really, really busy on a certain shift, then that your minimum staffing should be X amount of officers compared to a shift that there's less. And then the other thing that they really strongly want to advise to take account of, which is called the shift relief factor. So taking into account an officer's entire time off, so that would include vacations, personal time, training time, and then your normal 2 days off. How many officers does it take to keep that one officer on the road? So in Ayer, that number is 1.8. So every officer that we have, we should be having 1.8 officers. Still me?
I can start now if you want to.
Yeah, I think it still carries on. All right, so kicking over here, so just to kind of talk about why we came up with kind of having a stronger workforce on the 7 to 3 shift and the 3 to 11 shift. These are some graphs from 2022. On the left, it talks about the incidents by time of day. And you can kind of see at 7 o'clock, we kind of start ramping up activity. And then by 10 o'clock, we have a little spike at 11. But by, we'll say, between 10 and 11 o'clock, we start to dip down and go into the overnight hours when the incidents, the reportable incidents, are relatively lower. And that's why and that's pretty consistent over the years. That's why we are confident that, the minimum staffing probably is appropriate on the midnight shift where we're at. And we probably want to look at in the future and making sure that we keep the volume of officers higher on the other 2 shifts. Looking on the right, we have the all incidents by day of the week. If you ask all our officers down here at the police department, they will definitely know when it's a Friday. And then Saturday, it kind of stays right there, and then it dips off Sunday, and then we kind of go up and down throughout the week. And that's consistent. So that's kind of Ayer police by day of week and time of day.
So going back to
Get that. Could you try again?
she's got a
Siri,
member.
stop.
So looking once again to our organizational chart that we had introduced already, where it breaks down to the span of control for each person and how we break up all the people in our department. And we break it down now into 3 budget areas. Now, the first budget here that's highlighted in the light blue is our uniforms, chief down to all the other sworn officers, but also to include for this police department budget line, as you can see, 01210, also includes the office manager and the records clerk. Those are the 2 civilian folks that are in this budget line. So as I said, that's the 3 shifts, the 4 sergeants, so it's 12 patrol, and the 2 other special assignments, the detectives and school resource officer. The next budget line, 01231, includes the Ayer Shirley Communications Center, which includes the communications manager and 9 dispatchers. And that's that budget line there. And then the last one, but not the least, animal control budget line 01292 is a separate part of our budget for that line for animal control officer, which is a part-time person.
Okay, so we share communications with Ayer Shirley?
Our communications is a regional dispatch, yep. Regional, yep, Air
Okay.
Shirley.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the chief, when the chief gets into more of the budget, it's hopefully will be self-explanatory. So, yeah, okay. Yes, it looks like a repeat.
It looks like a repeat.
Okay,
We'll
all right,
flip one over.
all right, go right ahead, chief.
All right, so I've taken I guess the draft 2 budget, kind of simplified it down just to kind of show this is for the Air Police Department budget line 01210, and kind of show what's happened over the years. And what I'm going to do is kind of go over line by line with these, just so you can have an idea of where we're getting these numbers. So this is line 5100 salary. So as you can see that those were blank 20 and 21. In fiscal year 22 is when that line started to get to used. And what comes out of this is where myself and the deputy chief are. This is where our pay comes out of. We're on the non-union pay grid. And the increase here is the deputy chief will be in a few weeks actually obtaining her master's degree in public administration. So that's the incentive increase there. And account under this is all going to be under the police department for wages. So what comes under the wages is sergeants and patrol officers, office manager, records clerk, and prisoner watch or detainee watch. Under the sergeants and patrols, in here there's a contractual step increases and COLA increases. There are also in here college incentive increases for officers obtaining degrees in that line. And also in this line is where the proposed administrative sergeant is in here. So the administrative sergeant accounts for $96,412 of that increase there. So for a point of reference, so if we took out the administrative sergeant, that increase would be 102,898, and with a 5.74 increase.
And you're saying that's driven mostly by COLA and incentives and steps and all that?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
In
Yeah.
education. Not there yet, okay, thank you.
Okay, so a little bit on the administrative sergeant. I pulled these slides right from the previous presentation that I did on the version 1 of the budget, I believe. So it just kind of highlights the increase in the administrative workload that we've kind of encumbered through here. So Massachusetts, the police reform mandates of 2020, new requirements in the way the police departments need to conduct business. And most of the changes there are administrative in function. We already talked about police accreditation and the administrative matters that have to be handled there. It's an ongoing and mostly administrative process. We talked about the population growth as being part of that need. And we also talked about the need to have supervision out on the road. We have a very young department. They're outstanding officers. But right now, 46% of our patrol officers are under 2 years experience here at the Air Police Department. And with that retirement and new officer, that'll bring us out to 57%, I believe.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it some other time.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's there. Oh, it's on a different slide, right? So the need grows. The police reform mandates are ongoing and continued. Accreditation, the continued maintenance of that program and the transition to the new standards that they just came out with. The expected continued growth. The expected retirement bringing us to 57%. And coming down the road is going to be the a body-worn camera program, which is Still in being talked out about at the legislative stuff, but it's also being talked at here locally. And there's so administrative sergeant really equals adding efficiencies. Allows the day shift sergeant to properly supervise and be ready to be available out in the field. Day shifts, having the day shift sergeant would actually feel like having an extra patrol out in the field. Would free up other personnel for their primary responsibilities. Right now, we spread out a lot of administrative roles amongst a lot of people. If we can bring those in from and put them to a different avenue, we can free up, say, our grant writer to do different things other than license to carry, stuff like that. So, if we can do that, it'd be great. And it'll also help that we ensure that the police reform mandates and accreditation requirements are met. So those are kind of the big things about the admin sergeant. That was kind of the biggest chunk that comes out of the biggest change in there that comes out of the wage line.
I have a question.
Sure.
Along the experience thing, where are you going to find this sergeant? Is that going to be local, or is that going to be
So sergeants
statewide net or something?
Yeah, no, sergeants are generally brought in from. They're not brought in. They're brought up from the patrol ranks.
Okay.
So it would be looking to the experienced officers to become part of the patrol sergeants, patrol supervision.
So if you promote someone internally, you then need another patrol officer to fill that in.
Correct.
Thanks.
So this is just kind of a conceptual idea of where the administrative sergeant would fall on the on our organizational chart. It would continue to, as all the sergeants report directly to the deputy chief. This one would as well, but would be kind of taken out of that patrol line. So this is the OT line. So one of the big things here is the reduction of $50,000. So as you can see that we've looked at the last 3 years, beginning 21, 22, and in 23 is where we're at now. That's the amount requested. So we really are confident that we can absorb this reduction and still meet the service needs of the community and the department. I just couldn't, it was one area that really jumped out at me that I'm like, we got there because of some of the activities that we used to do and that we may get back to, but we're confident right now that this reduction of $50,000 will be more in line with what we need for now. So that's why there's that reduction. Some of the things that drive our OT needs, as you can see up there, some of the drivers are time off needs, training, report writing and investigations, some of our specialized services. Those are a whole bunch of acronyms, but we're part of a consortium of police departments that have specialized teams, and so we have members on each one of these teams that either will come to Ayer when we need them, or they go to other towns. Court time, community events, which are building back from the pandemic, and also out of this is detainee watch responsibilities that are covered by the department. Okay, this is the service line. So we've done a little bit of moving around. The budget is a lot different than we have been in previous years, and we're trying to put items where they make better sense. So we have money moving down to different lines in different budget lines. So this is where we have the new hire testing. So that's medical testing, psychological testing. We also have our vehicle maintenance out of this line. As you can see, FY21, FY22, we're kind of in line. FY23, we're projected to be up near 29,000. The part of the increase that we're seeing here is we've historically budgeted only 13,000. So it's just those numbers aren't in reality anymore. In this number also is we're going to try a fleet management software that will try to help us identify issues and get them to repair earlier, and it will help also save in some diagnostic fees. This is also where we have our maintenance agreements. We have a lot of maintenance agreements. Basically everything that runs on some sort of piece of software has got to be maintained on a yearly basis. So one of our biggest is our records management software, IMC, and that's in there. One positive thing is with last year's move to the new taser equipment and getting into the 5-year maintenance program, we saved $10,000. We went from 25 to 15. And then we've moved funding out of this line to more appropriate lines, and we talk about them as they come up. One of the other things we'll talk about is our detail cruiser fees. So one of the things that I implemented was at times a cruiser is necessary out on either a nighttime detail or a detail that's got it's a dangerous road to be on. So if a company requests a cruiser, there is a fee for that now. So it's to kind of offset a little bit of the wear and tear that the cruiser may entail while it's out there on that. So
What's the
that.
number there for?
And so we started that in FY22. We realized $775, and then just this year to date, we're around $1,000 right now. So it's definitely something that can offset the maintenance fees on that. Utilities. So we have a 214% increase. This is actually a relatively new line, as you can see in FY22. We just started to use it, and then we are really using it now for the National Grid Electric, for our Radio Shack. That's the one thing that we cover, and the Verizon business lines in the station. And those both came out of the services line. So that's why there's a less of an increase there and more of an increase here. Supplies, so vehicle supplies, office supplies, general supplies. Decrease is we moved stuff out of this line into more appropriate lines. We moved out new hire equipment and clothing and body armor and carriers to a different line. So that's why there's a decrease here. So here's the clothing line. We put in, so in this line is the collective bargaining contractual clothing and equipment. And this is where we also put the new hire clothing and equipment and the body armors and carriers. If I'm going too fast, please slow me down. I know we're getting crunched for time, so I'm really putting this on fast forward. Expenses, professional dues, training, subscriptions, tuition reimbursements. We've also added into this is we're looking to partner with Communities for Restorative Justice. C4RJ is the acronym. And what that is a court diversion program that so rather than go through bring certain issues through the court, we can bring them to this Communities for Restorative Justice, and it actually the data on that is that it benefits everybody who's involved in this, from the victim, the offender, for lack of a better term, gets to understand more the effects of what that person has done. So it's something that we'll look forward to finalize that for to bring to the community of Ayer. And one of the things that we've done here is we've taken the college tuition for the dispatches out of the police budget and put them into the dispatch line. Capital. So there's a little bit of an increase in here. So the cruisers have gone up, as I'm sure if anybody has gone shopping for a car, a little bit more expensive. That also applies to us. One of the things that we're experiencing now is our radar units in them are older, and we've had to replace one already. So what we're looking to do is, as the new cars come in, at least for a cycle, to replace the radar unit in each car. So we replace the MDT computer. That's and so a computer generally lasts about 5 years before it's a out-of-date computer. So we find that as they replace them, they're every 5 years we get a new computer. One of the things that we've also noticed, last 2 cars have been the hybrid vehicles, and we've noticed the gas savings on those. So the gas savings that we've realized on that is about $3,000 a year. Actually, this is just one car. We haven't taken the second car yet. It's available. We just got an email today that it's ready to pick up. So there is some savings to going with a hybrid vehicle. So not as much as I think right now as the offset of the cost of the increase of the car, but there is some savings there with hybrid. And let's see. So questions on the police department line. I know there was a lot. It was like a fire hose kind of approach. So
And there's more coming.
want to keep going?
Yeah, because I think that you change the way you account, like the different buckets move around, so it's really hard to compare this way. So
It is.
So kind of just take your word for it.
Well, it's the bottom line, right? The 6.63 is the total increase, right?
I agree
Yeah,
with you.
that
Just
bottom line's
take
fine,
the
yeah.
bottom.
The rest of it's magic.
Yeah,
The rest of it's magic. Well, yeah. Over here. I
Yeah,
have-
here's the coin.
Okay.
No.
Who juggles later?
So is this me? Still?
What am I? Yeah, it's you unless you want me to. Okay.
So communications. So this has been an area that we really wanted to clean up for the town. When we regionalized with the town of Shirley, that we had the dispatch. Some of the dispatches were still in the police line. Some of them were in this new line of the regional dispatch. Some of the equipment was covered up there. Some of the equipment was covered down here. Starting last year and more so this year, we really wanted to get a clearer picture on what the regional center costs to operate. So we think we're in a pretty good area. There's probably still a little bit more work to do, but I think that in generality we're pretty good. To understand the budget a little bit more, you got to understand our grants that we have. So every year. We apply for these grants, and this is what we're getting to assist with the center. So 911 is giving us $329,667 under the support and incentive grant. The support and incentive grant is just what it sounds like. It's to support the regional communication center. And we generally use it to offset the wages in the line of in dispatch. The regional development grant. This is a grant that we can apply for. It's a competitive grant, and we generally use this to either upgrade equipment or obtain new equipment. Strictly used for aiding the communication center. It is available to all of the users of the communication center. So Air Fire, Air Police, Shirley Fire, and Shirley Police can submit proposals, and they go through. And then we also received the 911 training grant. And what this does is this offsets pretty much all the training that the dispatchers need. On a yearly basis, and so it covers their fees, in their overtime to attend, or the overtime to backfill their position if they have to take a shift off.
Do you expect to continue to get this kind of grants going forward?
We do. This has been actually the 911 regional development grant was kind of a light year for us. So it was and it's really based on the projects that we think we need at the time. So where the support incentive grant, we think that's going to be, and we have no reason not to believe that it's going to be a grant that continues to be awarded and possibly grow. So that's So that's the dispatch budget line there. As you can see, it's got a growth of 1.72 with all of the things that we're about to talk about. You can see in FY23 that number really kind of jumped. That's when we brought in the communications manager, and the communications manager is on the non-union pay grid as a salaried employee. This line of wages, this is where the 9 dispatches are. Contractual steps and their COLA increases are located in here. This is where the 911 support and incentive grant was applied to. You can see that number is just a little bit different. It's a little bit lower by about $800. We had to get a monitor for inside the dispatch center for the security system, so a little bit less, but still pretty good number. So prior to that 911 support and incentive grant offset, that cost to operate that was $674,000. And then what is not shown here is the town of Shirley assessment that they pay on a yearly basis to us, so that's $145,000. So really, that number is $200,000 for there. OT, no change. The training grant offsets all training and OT costs. So services, the percentage went up, but that's because we moved some of the maintenance agreements out of the police line and brought it down here. Let's see, from police services, the PowerPhone EMD software. Supplies, office, it's just general supplies, there's no change here. Stuff that goes into the dispatch center. Clothing, contractual clothing, there was an increase in one of the areas in the clothing. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's contractual. Expenses, this is professional dues, training and subscriptions for out of the dispatchers. Increases so there's 1,000% increase. So that's the tuition reimbursement was brought out of the Department of Police expenses and brought down here. So it was the same money, just moved to a different spot. So there's the dispatcher's budget line.
Very nice.
Any questions on that?
Go now.
That's it.
Yeah. So animal control. That's the third part of our budget when we split it up in 3. And so with animal control, like we said, it's one part-time civilian that does our animal control.
Oops, sorry.
That's okay. So here's the budget line here regarding wages. Part-time, it's a stipend position. Also is the barn inspector. So we receive that as well. And so we're talking contractual step and COLA increases with that 2.0. Services. So this includes any professional development classes that our animal control officer will take, kennel and boarding exams, medical services. So clearly, if there's an animal that we need to send into to the kennel, as well as any exams or any services that need to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, along with that, when we do need to take in a dog for a short period of time, you can imagine that we do need some supplies with that. Nothing too crazy, but obviously leashes, harness, some treats and some snacks to keep that pup going. And then we have unforeseen expenses that might not be covered, that might occur in the event, just trying to control an animal. And so back to that, that's, it's the 1.82, where it's the what's expected with the COLA and stipends. So, any questions on the animal control? Okay, any
Pretty
questions?
straightforward, right?
Well, that's why I chose that one to talk about, right? So, but how about everything else? Quick, a little bit of everything here.
I asked, and I went along, so.
Yeah, no, I have no other
I will
observations or
appreciate
questions.
public
Jen?
input.
Yeah, I think we should see if the public has any,
Yes.
because it will be very short.
Thank you.
So,
First of all,
yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, we'll open it very, again, we do have the time constraint of the hour. If we can just open it for public comments real quick. Eric, go ahead.
You go first.
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks, Chief. I guess, perhaps I misunderstood, but at first public budget forum, I think I asked how many, I think you said that you had 23 officers and you are now looking to add the administrative sergeant to make 24. Did I misspeak?
I don't know. I'm sorry if I.
Okay. But so the
We've
number
never
is-
had 23.
So the number is 20 and you want to look.
We're actually at
21.
19 right now. Yeah, but yeah, 20 is where we're allotted.
Okay, all right. And you know, because this is obviously a, you know, staffing ratios and hiring people is, you know, exceptionally expensive. So I looked at some of the surrounding towns and what their population was and what their full-time police staffing was to see if Ayers was comparable to that. The 20, so again, the 20 number seems more in line with what some of the other communities have. You know, Groton has 20, Lunenburg has 20, Harvard has 8, but they're an outlier all the time. Littleton has 21.
Littleton has 22.
22, okay. And these numbers that I have are from, I think, 20, you know, the most recent annual report that I was able to find online. So I'm heartened that the number is not 23. Let me just say that. And in terms of mutual aid, is that relevant to you folks? Like, do you, I mean, there may be some rare, extraordinary circumstance under which towns call you for assistance or you call other towns. That's kind of an unusual circumstance for you. You wouldn't need.
I wouldn't say unusual, but it's you know, where
Like, is it weekly,
you know,
monthly, or
for
daily?
you know, I don't know, what would you say?
It's hard to, it's not, I wouldn't say necessarily daily, but like anything, it rains, it pours, and then it might settle out and you don't do it for a bit. But it's like as the chief said, it's not unusual, but it might not happen for a weeks at a time, and then it might happen, you know, a couple times. And like you said, it's give and take, you know, where we work together with one another, you know, depending on if they're at minimum and, you know, someone else is at minimum, we have a difficulty where we need somebody to help with the tow of a car. So it's hard when you think of mutual aid. It could be, you know, is this an officer in trouble call, or is this, hey, can you wait by this car work before the tow gets here? You know, what are we talking about? It's a kind of a huge range of things there.
But the frequency of your providing that to them and them providing that to you is approximately equal.
I would actually say we're probably more of the recipient of mutual aid.
Okay.
Because of the, you know, the uniqueness of Ayer. You know, if there's a crime, some sort of violence up at the hospital, we're routinely asking Groton to just kind of slide a car over closer to that area. And I know that we use Littleton's K9 pretty, you know, regularly, and they come over and assist whenever they're available. So yeah, so I think we're the recipient more than going over.
Great.
Which is great, except it means, you know, we're often calling for help on kind of higher level calls. So.
Can I ask a question?
Sort of, so just, it obviously doesn't appear that the police department is, you know, really overstaffed or anything, in your trying to reduce, or there's a request to reduce overtime, and that this probably isn't applicable at all to the upcoming fiscal year, but would it be more cost effective or better for everyone to have another body, another officer, assistant or something, because you had mentioned for training, for paperwork and whatnot, and we talk about downtime and recovery, mental and physical, for officers, and would it, so is it time, if overtime is obviously you can get much more out of another person than you can just time and, you know, overtime pay.
So one of the requests that we have this year is for an administrative sergeant to help with the administrative workload that's increased over the last couple of years. And because what's happening right now is our day shift sergeant is spending a majority, if not all, of his shifts sometimes inside, taking care of the administrative stuff that he does, which brings us to the youngness of our department and not having a supervisor on the road to help out with that calls. So yeah, so we are looking for an administrative sergeant, and by doing that, we'll bring the patrol sergeant back out on the road. So it would, in that sense, would be gaining a person.
And how, in terms of the dispatch center, how was the Shirley assessment number of, I think, 145, how was that number arrived at? That is, how do you equitably apportion the dispatch costs between Ayer and
Do we have
Shirley?
that number somewhere? So what? So when we first embarked on that, it was kind of we just kind of see where we're at, kind of deal. And then and that's kind of where I'm at with this. I want to make sure that the town understands how much that it costs to run the communication center, so we can better determine what that assessment is to Shirley. And using that, I think.
That was on the merged one.
Let me see if I can quickly look for it. So I definitely know
It's
that
the
a
145.
couple percent points, we do use the dispatch center.
It's like 54.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it for you real quick. Police budget, budget.
So this was the
Development.
budget.
So in 2022, the town of Ayer used 54% of the total call volume of the dispatch center, and we were 58% of the 911 call volume. So does that answer your question?
Not really. I mean, I'm just wondering how, so Ayer had those numbers, Shirley, had the opposite in order to get to 100.
Sure.
And that's what equates to the difference between 145,000 and 200,000.
So that's what we're hoping to get better at. So the budget as you see it now was not the budget last year. So we had some of the dispatchers were located in the police line because that's how the old system was. Some of them, the new dispatchers went into this new line. So now we're bringing them all into their own line so we can have a much clearer understanding of what it costs to operate.
So, Jim, bottom line, do you think that the assessment the last few years has been too low or too high?
Yes. We believe it's too low.
And have you communicated that, at least informally, to the folks in Shirley? And that is, please anticipate that, yada, yada.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
very quickly, the agreement is an intermunicipal agreement that is between the town of Shirley and Ayer, which has to be approved by both select boards. The details are negotiated by the chief and I and our counterparts on the other side. That agreement will be coming up for renegotiation. The forefront is the issue of the Shirley assessment. I also just want to point out the genesis of this, though, when it came to be at the time in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the 911 communications want regional dispatch centers. And the opportunity was to keep a dispatch center in Ayer for Ayer with Shirley. If we had not regionalized, we would have had to, for example, go to the Devons dispatch, which if you look into that, and the record speaks for itself as far as service, chief, you can chime in, service and so forth is not nearly to what we have. So in addition to 3 years ago, I think it was when this started, there were some other key considerations that needed to be made. But yes, it is on the top of our list for the renegotiation.
Mr. Chair?
Great.
Excuse me, Jim.
Yes, one other,
Yeah.
town
So
moderator. Yes.
We're in this is the first negotiation with the Shirley Ayer Regional
There
contract.
was, through the chair, there was a 1 year when we did it,
Yep.
And we just are coming towards the end of the 3-year, and we'll be coming on a new 3-year.
So we're building the data to do a better job of negotiating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, very good. So, so I just, very, very good observations. Let me just throw out to the public, and Dennis, do you have any more comments? Very good.
No, I'm good.
Eric, anything else? Great, well, thank you very much for your input. Very good points and stuff. And I just, it was interesting because I made a big note about the communications and and I don't want to digress too much, but the presentation was very good and speaks of the analytics being done, which is going to be able to drive what just Robert just mentioned about working on proper budgeting for 911, the communications.
And this has been something that the finance team and we've been working on in the last 2 years to try and get a clearer picture of that.
Very good. So if we have no more public input, then I
I'd like to
would-
make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
I, yes, I did. I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.